about what we're doing or why we're doing it, or any other questions.
We have a question left over from last night from Vish.
Namaste, Vish.
Please discuss the goal of living. All life is focused meditation. Many devotees have problems bringing meditation into action. Action makes devotees lose their bhava, become attached. How to become unattached while in action?
Oh, Bishop, the greatest suggestion I can make to you is, if I'm doing this action for the love of God, then I want to do it as perfectly as I possibly can. I don't want to make any mistakes. I want to cross all my T's, dot all my I's, make sure I've done the very best job. Can I go back and check it again? Another time, because I really love you. I'm going to present this to you. This is my offering to you, Mother. So, for example, today I was working on a motion to sever two legal cases in court. And I had to write this legal brief and a motion, etc., etc. And when I got through researching all the elements that I wanted to go into this legal brief and then to a formal motion, I went through it 3 times again. And I went through it and I read it. I read what I wrote and I corrected it. And I changed the grammar a little bit and I made some correction. And I moved that sentence down to here and I moved this paragraph up there. And I thought that would be the greatest refinement of the presentation I was making. So, Pratamam Shaila Putricha, the first is the goddess of inspiration. Second, Dvitiyam Brahmacharini, the second is the goddess of sacred knowledge. I'm going to learn as much about this, get my thoughts together, get my knowledge together, get it all down on paper. Tritiyam Chandraganteti, I'm going to start practicing and refining, put it all into order, into an organization so that it's usable, it's intelligible, it's wonderful, everyone can understand it, it's clear, it's logical, it's concise, it's got good spelling, it's got good grammar, it's got clean margins, it's got a good presentation, it's professional, it represents what I want to be as my offering. Chaturtam Kushmandeti Chaturtakam. I want to refine that and do the tapasya. Read it again and make sure it represents the best presentation that our family can give as the offering that's going to bring in the karma that we're hoping to get. We're giving our karma in exchange for something. Your blessing. Whatever that will be, whatever we get will be your blessing. Now, can I make that karma the very best I can? And now I've made it as best as I can. I'm going to read it one more time and refine it and do the tapasya and do the sadhana, which says I am focused, I am sincere, I'm not just trying to get it out the door, I want it to represent our values. Panchamam Skandamatete. And in the 5th position is she who nurtures divinity. Can I really make this the expression of my divine longing to say to you, this is the product that I want you to have, to say that I love you, Mom. Whatever you're going to give me for, you may give me scorn, you may give me praise, you may give me whatever you're going to give me, I want you to be, I'm going to accept that. But I want to give you the best I can possibly give you. Shashtam Katyayani Ticha. And in the 6th position is she who is free from error and pure and ever pure and free from mistakes. And I've read it through, I went through, I did the tapasya, I went through it again and I saw that I couldn't find anything wrong with it. I'm satisfied that it is the purest reflection of the sincerity of my love for you. This is the process which I think that we can use, even if it's a legal brief or a motion or a fixing the pipe. The guy sprayed the soap. Oh no, there's still a bubble. I'm going back to fix it again. He did it until it was right. And then he delivered it. And in the same way, we're giving you the mantras and we're doing it to the best of our ability. And we'll do it until it's right. Until it's as perfect as we can make it. I don't want to just sweep the last bit of dust underneath the rug. I'll stop and wait and pick it all up. I believe these are the ways we can diffuse the attachment from it, because the attachment says, geez, I don't want to spend that much time doing this silly worldly act. I'd rather go to the temple and chant. I don't want to be late for class. I'd rather do this quickly so I can go and listen to that crazy Swami ramble on and on and on about how you should want to make what Mother says, respect your every action. We know what she means by that. We're calling respect Shreem. Sha means Shanti, Ra means your mind, E means your heart, Anuswar means perfect peace in your mind and your heart. If you perceive with perfect stillness, just grok the thing that is, then you're paying respect. If you're not thinking about what you're going to say in rebuttal, but you're thinking about what is being said to you, then you're listening. That's respect. And if you're listening to my words and sounds thinking, gee, you know, what's on the stove and what's on the menu and when are we going to eat and why is that deer walking out the door and how soon is he going to stop all this rambling and let us go to dinner? When you stop thinking all of that stuff and control the wandering mind, then you're paying respect. You're demonstrating respect. Meditation is respect. Remember, when we love, we pay attention. When we respect, we pay attention. When we meditate, we pay attention. When we learn, we pay attention. When we worship, we pay attention. And through the practice of meditation and all the techniques that we are studying and practicing daily, we are learning how to learn. We're learning how to love. We're learning how to respect. We're learning how to worship. We're learning how to unite with anything we choose to pay attention to. So that's the way, Vish, I recommend that we all respect our actions, is by trying to make it the greatest example of what I want to offer to my beloved deity. Whether it be an offering to my family, or an offering to my guru, an offering to my God. Whatever it is I want to give, I want to give the best that I possibly can. I don't want to just say, oh, I found this laying around and I'm giving it to you. I want to say, I brought this just for you.
Question from Julia in San Diego.
Namaste, Julia Ma.
Can you please tell us the different pranayamas for chanting and how that applies to Chandi practice? When you do it during the week, do your 4 verses, but on Sundays we do 2.
Actually, Julia, mostly I do 5 verses. There are many forms of pranayama. If you inhale the Nivarna mantra, is my mantra. That's your mantra too. In fact, this family comes from the lineage of the Nivarna mantra. That's the mool mantra of Chandi worship. And our Ishta Devi is Chandiman. And the Chandi Pat is our mool shastra, this primary scripture that we use in order to make our journey. Of course, we love all of the forms of God. We love all the scriptures of God. But our primary conveyance is Chandi and the Chandi Pat. And that means the Nivarna mantra. Om Eng Ring Kling Chum Daki Viche. So here in this instance, we are inhaling one time the Nivarna mantra. And we are exhaling 2 chopais, or 2 verses which say, well, whatever they say. The 2 verses of the text. So this is the form of pranayama that we're using. It will automatically regulate itself without your counting how many syllables you need to breathe. If you inhale the length of the Nivarna mantra, your exhalation will automatically come to the amount of syllables that you need in order to make one cycle of pranayama. And the same with the chandi. Of course, on Sundays, I try to make it more community spirited so that everyone, or many of us at least, can participate, because if I were to do 4 or 5 verses to the breath, people would break their teeth. They would have a lot of trouble with that tongue flying around their mouth uncontrollably. A lot of people wouldn't be able to pronounce it correctly. So I devised over the years different rhythms by which I can share and teach and inspire our family how they can get involved. So we started this class of the Sundarkan with Bhakti-Pat, and we were chanting and breathing at the quarter of the verse or the half of the chopai. It said, Sunata Sabaya Mana Musu Musukai Kahatasana Nasabaking Sunai Bhumi Parakara Kakata Kasa Laguta Pasagara Paga Bilasa. And then we went to 1 verse per breath, and now we're at 2 verses to breath, and we just finished this, and maybe next time we'll start at 3 verses to the breath, if your orthodontist doesn't mind. The idea is, as our purak becomes longer, that's the inhalation. It becomes consistent and longer and stronger, and our rechak, the pronunciation, becomes longer. We get 1 verse and 2 verses and 3 verses. Then the kumbhak becomes longer, and the space between the 2 thoughts is equal to the space between 2 breaths. And suddenly we've got this system of pranayama working for us that brings us into the bhavana, into the feeling, into the attitude, into the gestalt, into the holistic spiritual experience of reciting this scripture. So we've got asana, pranayama, mudra, kriya, Sanskrit, the vyakaran, the grammar, the pronunciation, the philosophy, the history, the context in which it was spoken, and we've got the padoti, the same systems of worship, the jyotish. It becomes tantric. It's the synthesis of all the knowledge that we have from every anga, from every limb of knowledge that we've accumulated in our spiritual studies, in our experience. It's all woven together, and that's called tantra, to weave, the warp and the woof of the cloth. So these forms of pranayama, and there are many, and you don't have to use one or the other. You can use them all. You can learn them all and find which one works for you the best. You can take a new scripture and read it slowly for understanding until you're comfortable with it, and then read it a little faster and a little faster and a little faster until you're breathing it in and breathing it out. It becomes you. You become it. It's very becoming on you too. So that's why the different forms of pranayama. Now, even still, we want to read it backwards and forwards and upwards and downwards and sideways, and because you know what? I want a doctor who operates on my brain to know his material backwards and forwards? How about the doctor who operates on my soul? Shouldn't she know it backwards and forwards? I want such an intimate experience and such an intimate relationship. It becomes your breath. And then you'll be qualified to share that inspiration with whomever comes into your aura. Whoever feels the sincerity, the validity, the intensity of your aura, they will automatically be conducted to this kind of knowledge, to this kind of experience. You know the law of mutual conduction. The stronger of any force will, when it comes into contact with the weaker, there will be a transference of the strength to the weak, and the qualities of the weak will come to the strong. So when the wind hits the water on the pond, the water makes ripples, and the wind becomes cool. And when the drip, drip, drip of the water, it cuts through the hardest stone. Even the stone has to move out of the way of the water. It's soft, and yet it comes through. There's a mutual transference. So the drip of the water moves the hardest stone. The tree leans in the breeze. Every time there's a conduction, a mutual conduction of all objects in relationship, especially people. Because if we ignoramuses come into contact with a wise, radiant guru, she takes away our ignorance and illuminates our divinity and inspires us to suddenly start learning all this stuff. And where was what need did I have of Sanskrit or Avadi or Hindi or classical Indian languages 40 or 50 years ago? It wasn't in my lexicon of understanding. And suddenly it became important to me. And I assumed the dominant quality. I wanted to learn her language. In the same way, people who come into contact with our radiant aura and the vibrations, the bhavana, the feeling, the understanding that comes about when we are really sincerely devoting ourselves to practices which bring us closer to God. Other people will feel inspired to follow our example. And that's called the parampara. From guru to disciple, and then the disciple becomes the next guru. I mean, it's anavadya. It's unwavering. You can't. It's undeniable. It just happens. It's the natural evolution. The parampara means if you are really trying to emulate the example of the guru, you're going to become the next guru to the next generation of disciples. Now that's not the object. That's not the goal. The goal is to make myself into a disciple. But when you make yourself into the disciple of a qualified guru, you automatically become the image of a qualified guru. So these forms of pranayama are enhancing our vibration, enhancing the intensity of our devotion, our commitment, the sincerity, and our reality becomes something different than it was.
Question from Pushpa in Sunderland.
Namaste, Pushpama.
Can I shreem and chant softly on a plane? I had heard I shouldn't chant on a plane, but I don't see why not.
I don't see why not either. Life is wonderful at 35,000 feet. You want to get high? Go ahead. Take the plane. Absolutely no reason you should not chant unless you're going to lose your job. So you can chant softly. Like I do often, I chant silently. Mostly on Monday mornings, because Sunday mornings I give it all. And Monday I just want to be inside and savor it. So I chant softly or silently. Or remember, there are 3 forms of puja, of pronunciation of mantra. Shabda, where there's an audible expression of the mantra. You can hear it. It's in the gross body. Goes in your ear. Goes from the ear to the mind, and from the mind to the heart. Shabda. Boomsh. And manas. When you look at someone who is performing manas puja, you often say, that person's not doing puja, they're in meditation. Well, how do you know what's going on inside? Inside it could be puja, it could be jap, it could be etikanda pushpi, and you watch the entire puja inside and you listen to it inside and you can remember every mantra and you can say every mudra. And that could be going on inside, and you just keep feeling the vibration. And you can feel that manas puja, you can feel that vibration. So many times you can just sit down, close your eyes, and chant the entire scripture. Chant your entire padhuti. Fulfill your sankalpa without moving a muscle. These are all possibilities, Pushpa. So don't think that you have to chant as loud as I do. You don't have to be as loud and boisterous as that Swami who learned his mantras in a German beer hall. You could be more subtle, like Sriman, and just keep it all inside. But that doesn't mean you're not doing the mantra. Yes, you can and you should chant in the airplane, in the train, in the bus, in the car, while walking, while sitting, while standing and talking. You can continue the mantra anytime. There is no place which is inappropriate to recite a mantra. No place. You just continue to recite, inside and out. We have time for one more question.
Question from Tulsi Ram.
Namaste, Tulsi Ram.
Pranam Swamiji, thanks for taking the time to share the richness of the Sundar Kand with us. A question arises that if the characters in the Ramayana represent different aspects within us, did these characters also exist in human form at some point in past history? Thank you.
Yes! Yes, Tulsi Ram. They were outside, they are inside, they are above and below and all around us. This story is true in the 3 worlds. In the gross body, in history, in the subtle body, within my psyche, within my soul, within my mind, and in the causal body, affecting all of the cosmos. There is no doubt that every syllable of Sanskrit and every scripture of Sanskrit or Avadi or all of our traditions are applicable on every level of consciousness. It's not just a mythology. It's not just a story about what happened back then. It's not just a history, but it's all of these. It's a history of what they did when, and what I'm doing now, and what's going on inside me today, and what's going to affect the entire universe tomorrow. It's true on every level of consciousness, and that's not just a matter of faith. I swear to you, it's not just a matter of faith that I believe these scriptures are ongoing Hariyanant and Harikothanant. These scriptures are infinite, and God is infinite. The stories about God are infinite. There is no way you can create a limitation to how to apply the wisdom of godliness. The example of the Ramayana is absolute. It permeates every action of our lives. You should know Tulsi. You have a name like Tulsi Ram. But the Ramayana defines the perfect behavior of every human being ever comes to earth. The perfect husband, the perfect wife, the perfect brother, the perfect servant, the perfect devotee, even the perfect demon. Now, if you look at it on the outside, you can say this is a history of how a perfect man became perfectly divine. Or if you look at it on the inside, you can say this is an odyssey, how the perfect qualities, the qualities and characteristics of perfection made the journey to become one with consciousness. How did I control my mind? How did my pure devotion jump across the ocean of worldliness and find the pure nature of consciousness? And bring back the pure nature of consciousness to the place of perfect peace. Or you could say, this is how my soul becomes one with the universals. You can read it on every level. You should read it on every level. You can read it on every level and apply it on every level. There is nowhere where it does not apply. It applies to our entire lives. Everything we're doing it, our relationship with our families, our spouse, our parents, our children. All of these are defined and depicted and exemplified in their pristine purity within all of the scriptures that we're reading. And that's why we study them, for continuous inspiration. We call those guys rishis. They became beings of illumination and wisdom and light. What did they do to become a rishi? What they did, we call scripture. We wrote it down and said, study this, pass it on from generation to generation. This is what they did to become what they became. If you study this, if you practice this, if you appreciate this, if you intuit this, you will become what they became. That's why it's called scripture. So yes, Tulsi Ram. On every level of consciousness, all of it is true. It is true. Satyam, satyam, na samshaya. It is true, and there is no doubt. Om Swami Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Namaste, everyone. Thank you very much for joining our discussion tonight. We truly appreciate your attendance. And maybe tomorrow night we'll take a little break. We have, it's a Friday night, and Mom is getting ready for a big week next week. And I want to keep her as quiet as possible. And maybe my staying out of the temple will help her do that. Perhaps we'll reconvene during the week next week, but it will be erratic because we've got lots of stuff to do. So you'll please excuse us. I will give you notice whenever I can as to when we will convene. I'll give you a little bit of advance warning, just in case you have any inclination to come and chant with us. Namaste.
Some comments.
Okay.
Swamiji, our heartfelt thanks and pranams to you. Thank you for the class. Please bless us to become the perfect reflections of you.
Wow. Namaste. Pranam. Jai.